All right, I hope you were successful in that, but let's go ahead and go through it, and that way you can learn from any mistakes that may have been made. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the object that is going to be the prototype. So let me do that first. So I'm going to call it post proto, and this is an object, so here's the curly braces, and then the only thing that's going to be in here is a function, and it's going to be the getAge function. It's going to be that method that we will use on the posts. Now this is going to be pretty simple. All we're going to do is return the milliseconds. So all I want to do is I'm going to be storing, when I create a post, I'm going to be storing the date it was created in that post. And we'll store it in the date property. And so to return the age, all I need to do is enter return, create a new date here, and subtract from that this dot date. That right there will return the number of milliseconds since the post was created. Now, obviously, we have this console log statement here. This is going to be invoked shortly after the post is created. So it'll probably show 0 or something very small. But we can then do it again. We can do it on the console and see a higher number, see the time that passes, the number of milliseconds that passes since the post was created. All right, so that is our prototype. Let's go ahead and start creating the factory function now. So I want to set up create post. That is the function name that we're going to use because that's what we're calling down here. So create post, that's going to be a function. And what are we passing into it? What we're going to pass in the text of the post, that's one thing we're going to pass in. And then we also wanted to pass in the department. See, we have both of those down here. And so I'm creating parameters to accept both of those. Then, the purpose of a factory function, remember, is to return an object. Now, we want that object to also have a prototype. So let's set that up first. I've already created the prototype object up here. So let's create an object, and we're going to use object.create to assign a prototype to that object. And here's the prototype, post proto. And that's going to create an empty object with a prototype attached. And now we're going to return this object here with the text, the date, and the department attached to it. Or we can do the object.assign. Remember, we looked at two ways to do that. I'm going to do the object.assign like this. And I'm going to use obj. And so with object.assign, we're going to use this target object, and we're going to copy all the enumerable properties from this object here, the one I'm creating. And then we'll return, obviously, we'll return the results for this obj object. All right. So what do I want to put in here? What things do I want copied to this target object? Well, one is I want to have a text property, and so it's going to be a property name of text, and it's going to contain a value of whatever is passed in here. We'll do that with department as well. And then we want date, and for date I'm just doing new date like that, and that will add the current date to this date property. And that there is our factory function. That should allow us to create a post, and then we should be able to use this getAge method to see how old it is. So if I save that, and let's just take a look at the console here, we'll get a 0. So that's what was returned for the age of that post, 0 milliseconds. But now if I take a look at that post, whoops. Well, let's just take a look at it first. So here's the information on it. Created it correctly. Now let's try to use that getAge method. And there we have 33,000 milliseconds so far. So 33 seconds since it was initially created. And each time we invoke that, it gets a little bit older. So there we were able to create a factory function We added some properties to the objects that were created with that factory function. We put a method on the prototype for all those objects that are created. All right, let's move on to the next topic.